Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Bill Graham coming to you live from Model Railroading Live. It's December 1st, 2021. We are the number one model railroading live show in the world. And just wanted to make sure you guys got that. But we are, and it's December 1st. 24 more days, and we got Christmas coming. Hope you guys are getting your wish list in and leaving your little slips of paper around for your loved ones, asking them and letting them know what it is that you'd like to get for Christmas. But it's not all about gifts, is it? It's just about family. So that's a good thing. We have a special guest for tonight and really enthusiastic kind of a person. And I think you guys are going to enjoy her. I think you guys, I said it, I already gave it away. So, hey to Pirates of the Model Train. Of model trains. Wigwag Workshop is there. Grandpa Rails is here. Roger Coleman is here. Ken Amos Jr., BNO _51, Lynn McCurdy, and the HDMMRC. That's a lot to say right there. Human City Junction, Heath is in the house. Hey, Heath. Brad Underwood is here. Good evening. Ralph Renzetti, I believe I saw earlier as we were getting ready. The Train Freak is here. Hello. Just to give you guys a heads up, we are tomorrow night is Thursday, December 2nd, and that's Johnny's Train Talk show. Now, Johnny has come back and he's been waiting for you guys to show up, but for some reason, maybe you're all live showed out. But you guys got to get over to Johnny's Train show Talk because you guys can be a part of the show as well. You can be in it and do the bring and brag. You know, if you have something of that you want to show off, whether you finished, started, or about to start, or have plans to start, you know, bring it up. If you got issues with your train set, layout, electronics, or something, usually there's someone in there that knows what they're talking about. Certainly not me, but somebody knows what they're talking about in that room. So that's a good thing. And then the Railroad Empires will be coming back on December 18th. I believe they'll be coming back with another show. I think they'll be live on this one. If not, they'll be dropping another pre-recorded show. So things have been pretty busy around here. As you know, last Saturday, we had a special showing of Who's Big Bill Talking To with Kathy Millett. Oh, Ron Bryce is in the house. Eric Hall's in the house. Nice to see you guys. Let the party start. Now we can really get jumping. But anyway, we had Kathy Millett on last week on a Saturday special show, and that was a very good show. And we're continuing in the vein of women in model railroading. And tonight's guest is no exception. We have with us tonight Michelle Kempner. She's the executive director of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum in Colorado. And I'd like you to give her a big round of applause as we bring her into the show. Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good. I know we had you in the green room and stuff, but you didn't happen to have any of that gasoline station sushi.
This
You
was from
did.
a gas station? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
It's been there for like 3 weeks.
Okay, so if I pass out shortly, we're going to know why.
Okay, just we have not just signed the waiver on the bottom that we're not responsible.
Oh, that's
'Cause
what the waiver was for.
right, exactly. That's for our law firm
Oh,
Schwartz.
I
Yeah,
didn't read the fine print. I just went to the
yeah.
bottom and signed.
It's not good. That's for our law firm of Schwartz and Schwartz. They're associated with Howie Dewey and Cheatham, so they've been working for us for a long time. So anyway, well, we hope we can make it. Michelle, thank you so much for being a part of this and being on the show.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah. So tell us how. So you're probably one of the biggest. You've probably had a model railroad when you were like 3 years old, right? Your grandfather or your uncle, somebody got you into model railroading, right? That's how come you're in doing this. Is that right? Am I correct in saying that?
Not really. Sort of. In college, when I got to college, and my first husband was a modeler, and I was like, "What are these things? They're kind of cool." So we went to Caboose Hobbies in Denver, and I picked out a cute locomotive. It was kind of turquoisey, like a nice teal color. I think he was
Right.
Great
Great.
Northern today. I told him
Right.
to put it out for its color, and we built a little layout in our little trailer house we had, and that was my first layout. So
Oh, okay. So when you got the Great Northern, that you got that as something for your husband to run on his layout?
oh no, he bought his own stuff. That was mine. I bought it for me because I liked it.
Oh, because
It
you
was
like the color.
I like the color. I mean, seriously, I was totally
Ah.
color motivated, 100% color motivated. I
Oh,
totally looked
okay.
right over that UP yellow
Oh,
and all
okay.
those other
Okay.
colors out there. And I picked that nice teal of a
It
great steam.
I
And
know. I know. Some of us guys do the same thing, except we won't readily admit that. We won't. We won't. I'm partial to the New Haven color scheme when they have I love Maine and I love New York, the blue and the white. But
hmm
as a guy, you don't let many other guys know that. Well, that's not part of your, yeah, well, the caboose, I could use, when
I
it's
think all the
actually,
B&H fans like that blue and yellow too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
So
so you
it's
know.
something like that. So, so how did you get involved in the Colorado Museum? What's your trek to model railroading?
Well, I kind of fell in love with it.
Did you?
And I come from basically the visitor standpoint, the non-model. I mean, I had that layout, but then 15 years later, I'm back in Greeley. I'm divorced single mom going to college because I got the MRS degree the first time. I was studying aerospace engineering at Colorado State University, but he graduated and couldn't get a job. So I went to work and put him through graduate school. So I don't have an engineering degree, but I did go back to school and get a business degree. But while I was going to school with two little daughters, doing school full time, working part time, momming full time, we get a call from this guy. I'm working at a homeless shelter. So I work part time doing post homeless housing for a homeless shelter here in Greeley. And this man called the shelter and he said, hey, I'd like to do a little fundraiser. I've built something and I want to know what people think of it. So invite your donor base and charge admission at the door on a Saturday. And tell me what people think and let me know what you think of what I built. And so they said, hey, Michelle, you have kids. Why don't you go do this? So my two daughters and I showed up at this Greeley freight station at the time, and there was a little card table in the lobby and a little cash box, and they had to, invited all of our donors to come in and see. And so I was sitting there taking cash in this little tiny cash box, and my daughter went out in the layout and came back about 2 hours later, and she says, Mom, been. Could we volunteer here? I like this.
How old was your daughter at the time when you were
7,
7? Nice.
7. And my 9-year-old just wanted to read a book. She still doesn't like trains. But my 7-year-old, she just fell in love with it. And I said, you know what? I think this is pretty neat too, honey. Let's do this. So twice a month on Saturdays, she and I would come in here and volunteer to run the admission desk for the newly formed Greeley Freight Station. and, and Dave built this place. Dave Trussell is his name, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. But he built it to play on it and kept telling him you should share this with people. And what we loved is when we walked through the door into this space, it was walking into a miniature world of peace and joy. I don't know how else to say it, and especially in this holiday season, I will say it truly is the epitome of the holidays. It is peace and joy and love and giving and laughter and smiles, and that's what this place is to me. And so the trains made all that happen, but that's the feeling that we got when we came in here. So I started volunteering here, and I volunteered here for almost 2 years and graduated from college with my business degree. And at the time, more and more people kept wanting to see the museum. And so Dave said to me, Michelle, I have an idea. He said, what if I was to pay you a salary for 3 years? Would you take what I built and make it something? I think it could be something. He said, I think it could be something someday. And I said, okay. So I was the first employee here. I started on January 3rd of 2011. And I've been here ever since. And I think they'll just bronze me and put me up in the mezzanine someday. So I'll probably be here forever.
In the Hall of Fame of model railroading.
Yeah, I know.
That's
So
so.
that's how I got here, through the eyes of a child and the love in my heart. I mean, it's seriously. And so when we wrote our mission statement, when we needed a mission statement. Who are we? What is? And we changed our name to Colorado Model Railroad Museum. That's kind of a long story, but I had to change the legal structure, so we changed
Yes.
the name. And so now we're a 501c3 nonprofit, but our mission has the word joy in it. And I don't know too many places that their mission is to educate, inspire, and bring joy to all ages. So that's
Hmm.
what we do.
Ralph Renzetti early has a question. He goes, Michelle, is it true that you have a small layout for kids to bring and run their own locomotives?
That is true. We have a T scale.
T scale
It's N scale. It's a
and
T
scale,
track.
right?
We call it T track. They're the little modulars, and kids can bring in their own locomotives or their T track layout module. Pop it in and run it here.
Right. Heath has from Human City Junction has a question that I guess is maybe an inside joke, but he says, "You rob a bank and have to move out of the state in order to get away. Where would you move?" I'm curious if you have the same answer tonight.
Where would I go? I'd probably go to Wyoming so I could still drive back and work here.
Oh, there you go.
Is that the right answer? That's my
Yeah.
answer today.
I don't know if that's the right answer.
I do
I
remember him asking me this question one time. I
Yeah.
don't know how I answered. I probably said the same thing.
Well, Split Rock 323 wants to know how often do club members hold operation centers when the museum is closed to visitors?
Okay, so this is where I really need to do some explaining because most everybody belongs to a club, and you're very club oriented, and you have a layout. Maybe you take it to a train show, and you set it up there, or you let people come in, but you're still a club, and your layout may be permanently set up in your club space. So we are different. We are a 501c3 with a mission statement, and we're made up of many clubs, but we operate in a different way. And so as soon as you walk through the door of this building as a volunteer, you are here filtered through our mission statement. You are here to educate people about modeling, to inspire them to be creative, and to give them joy today. And so, yes, you get to run trains and have fun, but your purpose is for the visitor instead of your purpose. Does that make sense? So we're not a
Yes, it does.
we're made up of many volunteers of many. We have volunteers that come once a month from other states like Iowa and New Mexico and Nebraska. We have Wyoming guys that come every week. So we're kind of like a national volunteer base.
Hmm.
Anybody, you could be a volunteer. All you have to do is get here.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and we have 138 signals you need to learn. So you don't just like grab a throttle and go off on your own. We actually have like a 2-day training process that you go through to make sure you're comfortable on our layout and that you can operate and talk to the public at the same time. Because remember, we're here for visitor experience.
Right. 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 So you have to learn how to chew gum and walk at the same time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you go.
We actually have to train you how to be able to talk to the public. And if it's important and you really do need to answer their question or you're saying so, you call the dispatcher and you say, you know, train 271 asking permission to, for a visitor.
Inquiry.
Yeah. And so
Right.
you need to stop because it's an accident, you know?
Yeah. 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 No. 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 That's pretty cool. That is very very good. I don't know if I would work out that well working for the Transit Authority and working with the public of New York City. It would be like, did I or did I not say get on the train or get out? So you know.
Maybe that's where Colorado's a little different than New York.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think so. You know. And Lynn McCurdy and the HDMMRC. Going forward, Lynn, this is going to be, I'm calling you Lynn if you have any more questions. Because he says, Michelle, I've been to the museum and I was given a backstage tour. I was surprised how it operates and how many train engineers were out per year. Wear out per year?
How many of our locomotives? We can kill a locomotive. So we actually put odometers on a couple of our trains
Really?
to see. So on Sundays, okay, so Friday and Saturday we do full operations, like with the dispatcher. We dispatch the railroad entirely. So you get clearance to enter your track sections, and then on Sundays we had a volunteer write. He wrote it in Visual Basic. It's a program that will run 9 trains, 5 one-way for each other. It looks like momentum. It's amazing. And this is back 11 years ago when he wrote this, long before like JMR and all of this stuff that makes it easy today. But I can run the layout by myself.
Really?
Yeah, and on so we do that on Sundays, and we used to do it on Thursdays in the summer. And one summer we put an odometer on two of those computer trains, and we watched them over the summer, and each of them ran a literal 100 real one-to-one scale miles
Hmm.
in 3 months. And that's how much we run our trains.
So what's the so if that does that in 3 months, what's your maintenance factor like?
It's high. We fix them and then we fix them again, and then we do that like 100 more times. And then finally, when we can't fix it anymore, it literally crumbles in your hands and we throw it away. So
Wow.
we do a lot of maintenance. We really do. But what's hard is our year is 1975, Ocean
Right.
Railroad. And so finding product to run for that prototypical era is hard too. So we actually have gone through some major changes in philosophy
Right.
for multiple reasons, but one of them is wear and tear on our trains. We've allowed so much more volunteers bringing their own trains because it is so much running. I mean, imagine running your model train, your layout, 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. nonstop. I mean, it's just
Right.
a lot of wear and
No,
tear.
that is a lot of how have in running a train like and running that in that kind of a environment 9 to 5 like a regular day. How often is the track replaced in certain sections?
We've never replaced a major section. We replaced little bits and switches. We added a switch during COVID. We had time to actually put in a whole nother switch in a yard and try it all
Right.
out and stuff.
Right.
We do track cleaning daily. We have those
Right.
alcohol cars
Yeah.
that you put
Yeah.
alcohol in. That's ran
Yeah.
every morning. We have a vacuum, we have a magnet, and we have to hand scrub. We have scale miles of HO track out there.
How many miles? I'm sorry, you got into
80, 80.
80 square. Okay, 80.
Uh-huh. And so it takes a train going a prototypical speed of usually like 16 on the 26 scale, 16 to 18. It takes an hour to get all the way around the layout.
Yeah, that's similar to out here in the East Coast. We have the Union City Model Railroading Club, and they have a very. It's owned by the city of Union, by the town of Union,
I'm
New
writing this
Jersey.
down.
Yeah, you should get in touch with them.
I need to
And
get
and they uh, I just got an invite. They sent out an invite for their Christmas holiday thing, but they have a thing. They expanded and they built on the property, and now it takes about an hour, 20 minutes at scale speed for one train to run the complete thing. And
yeah,
upstairs, when you walk in on the main level, and then it's an N scale layout, and then you go downstairs, and it's the HO scale layout, which takes up it's like a bond size layout. But then you go below the layout where all the electronics are, and they have this office. Well, it's a desk. This is where the dispatcher sits, and he directs the show. So I imagine that would be
that's
the same.
awesome. Does he have like a CTC machine? Do they use that? Or is he
I
doing
went a couple
computers?
of years. I went many years ago, and I don't know if they've upgraded to DCC. Are you guys DCC or DC?
Yeah, we're DCC, except because this was, opened in 9, and so we're CMRI. We use NCE as all of our throttles, and so we're not like the super modern Dave Abella's kind of layout. I see a remote ops. I would love to, but we'd have to change our CMRI to JMRI. It's not out of
Yeah,
the question, but
right.
it would be a process for us.
Human City wants to know. Hey, would you? And the questions keep coming in, and they block out my. Would you ever consider setting up remote operations at the museum, or at a minimum some cameras so we could watch trains?
I'm getting closer to cameras. And the reason that we don't have virtual railfan on the building, because we sat right next to Union Pacific's line from Cheyenne to Denver. And the reason I don't have interior cameras is because I'm still pretty much on basically. We have no fiber optics, nothing, but it's coming. So within like
Okay.
a year, I should have. So my upload speeds, for those of you that know this kind of stuff, my upload is 1.5 megabits per second.
Right.
That's on a good.
Yeah. What there was another question. Drew Dudes Model Trains wants to know: are the beaten down club model locos, are they sold or refurbished?
We refurbish them as long as we can. We usually refurbish them until you just can't, and then we'll either give them away or they're just so far gone you can't fix it.
And you said the era is 1975, and and what is it that you mod? I mean, what railroad is it that you emulate?
Oregon is the Oregon, California, and Eastern Railroad, and it has to do with Dave Trussell, the man who built it. So he owned a newspaper called the Lake County Examiner, Oregon, starting in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And he watched the OC&E, which was a logging railroad, for many, many years. And then he moved on and he ended up owning 26 newspapers. One of them was the Greeley Tribune. So before he retired, he moved to Greeley and he ended up building his dream layout here. He'd had this dream to build the ultimate model railroad. Thanks to Lynn Westcott. Anybody have Lynn Westcott's book, 101 Track Plans?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, so if you flip to the back, the next to the last article says, if I had a million, I could build the ultimate layout. You know the
And
article?
yes,
Yeah. Oh, he took it as a challenge.
and he said,
So,
I have $1 million."
well, he raised his $1 million by buying and selling Lionel. And it's funny, he built an HO scale layout, even though his home modeling was all Lionel. And he bought
Right,
and sold Lionel. But owning a newspaper, he owned a publication called the Fence Post. The Fence Post circulates from Montana to Texas. Okay. So he'd
right,
put an ad in there and he'd say, I'm going to be in Oklahoma at these cafes on these days at these times. Bring your stuff, I'll buy it. So every farm in America and sold him Lionel out of their barns and basements.
right. And good word of mouth. Very good.
Right.
Sparky 107 says, Michelle, you should talk to Walt. He's the owner of Locomotive Land about cameras on trains. He has his own system, and you can't even see the camera on the front of the locos.
Oh, that's cool. We did a video. We have a video of our layout from a camera on the train. Bill Rogers, our videographer. If you go to Bill Rogers YouTube, you'll see all of our videos, and there's one called the Big Cab Ride, and he actually put a Western Pacific cab over it,
Yeah,
and so it's like you are the engineer going around our layout.
right, right,
If
right.
you look deep enough, you'll find a video where he green screened me into different parts of the layout.
Okay.
Hilarious. If you want to really dig deep into the YouTube, um, that one's pretty funny.
So, so now you do you become a in the beginning you start working there in 2011. Now you really had no knowledge nor background in model railroading. So how was it for you dealing with manufacturers and the like of those? You know, like trying to get FaceTime with them
Okay,
and
so yeah, that's a good question. I'll tell you, the first few years here, I made, and I was very involved in the tourism side of the state of Colorado up to the point I was president of the tourism board for the state, of which I just stepped down from last year. So I'm involved in tourism, and I that was just the trains over there that we ran, and that's all fun. And at one point, in our gift shop, we sold a caboose model of our caboose because we have a real caboose, and we were running out. And I started calling this company called Athern, and I left 17 messages with Athern saying, "I'd like to order this caboose. I need 1,000 of them. Could I just order this? Would someone call me back?" And to be honest, 17 calls in an entire year, and I never got a response. So I learned about this thing called the National Train Show, and I went,
right.
"Oh, that's going to be in Kansas City in 2018. I think it's 2018." And I told my board, I said, "I'm going to a train show. I need a caboose," and I know this. And so I called up the National Train Show people. I said, "Yeah, I'd like a booth for a nonprofit," and they're like, "What?" We figured it out. Like a museum booth out there, and I went to the Athern booth, and I did end up eventually getting my caboose ordered. It was a process, and I have to tell you, I don't. my personality or something, but when I walk up to people at the beginning and I'd say something about a model train and they're just looking at me like, "Are you sure? Are you for real? Like, what?" So, yeah. And coming in here as the director and the boss to men from many clubs, many alpha males, amazing modelers, and suddenly I'm the boss. It was really a transition. And so this is how we handled it. Exactly handle it, as in, I don't know, teach me.
Very good.
Very
Very good
scary.
way to a very good way to approach something.
And I'm always, I
Because
don't know that, teach me that. But
right, because when you get the boisterous ego, male ego, to come in, and you diffuse it by saying, how why don't you teach me how you do what you do and let me learn and stand next to you, and then it
right,
gets like, oh, okay, so then the bravado goes away
right.
and the love of the hobby comes out. Because if
I
you
did
truly
have,
right, go
I
ahead, I'm
had
sorry.
one experience with a woman actually, who here, she and her husband volunteered. And when I first came on as the director, I hadn't ever really ridden a train, like an actual go out and ride a train to ride it, other than like a zoo or that kind of thing. So I booked an Amtrak trip for me and my husband. And I wrote about it in our newsletter. And I said, now I get it. Now I understand why people love to ride trains. That was amazing. And I loved it. So we put that in our letter. And she comes up to me the next week and she goes, Michelle, I can't believe you made that mistake. And I said, what mistake? And she said, you let them see weakness in you. You let them know that you didn't know something are going to walk all over you. And she was all over me. And I said, Kate, I am me and I can't be anything else. And I wrote from my heart, and that's who I am. And it was an interesting experience.
And and may I ask, what was the outcome of that after that was written?
I think that the guys really, I think that I gained respect from being honest. And I think it took probably a good year for the guys to trust that my intentions were always for the sustainability of the museum if I made a decision. And it's not about whether or not you get to run this train or that train or whatever. It's about the visitor, getting them through the raising dollars to keep the doors open so you can come in here and volunteer and have fun, and
I
this stays around. So they had to understand what my job was. So
I bet you donuts to dollars, and if I've never been there, but I bet you donuts to dollars right now that if you said to the men that are work, let me put it this way: if you said to the people that are working under you that you supervise, if you said to them, "I need you to go through that wall, and then I need you to come back and go through that wall again," I bet you each and every one of them would do that for you.
they probably would because they've done amazing things for me and they've always been
Exactly,
there when I needed them.
exactly. See, and I think that's the level of respect that should go all the way around.
Yeah,
It's not because of your gender that
right.
makes you you're in you put aside that and you say, this is what I love, this is what I want to do you want to do the same thing? Because if you do, come with me and we're going to have a blast. And if you don't, that's fine too, but I haven't got time for this.
Oh, and I have a rule. The very first day I came here to be employed, Dave Trussell sat me down in a chair and he said, Michelle, we have to have a serious talk. I went, okay. He says, I have one rule here, and I want you to abide by this rule from here forward. And I'm like, oh boy, what is this going to be? And he said, here it is. If it's not fun, change it.
What
That
I
was it.
need
You know how powerful that statement is?
you're absolute I used to coach baseball for 30 plus some odd years and I worked for transit. My attitude whenever I would talk to the kids was like, hey, we're going to have fun. Who wants to have fun? Who doesn't? If you don't, have a
Right.
nice day. We'll
It's
see you
been
when we
very
see you.
powerful. And,
It does, exactly. I need Ralph wants me to ask you a question. He
okay,
wants to know, what is your pet peeve?
my pet peeve about modelers, modeling,
Hit,
being directors.
sound, lack of.
My biggest pet peeve is going up to a drink machine and you put your cup up there and the ice lands on your hand instead of the cup and it's cold.
I hate
Is
when
that
that
the answer?
happens. I hate when that happens. I hate that. I hate Indian Head Valley Railroad. He agrees with that statement and he said it in capital letters. So that means right now he's yelling at the computer. So, yes, you're absolutely right, Reed. That is so true. It is, and I think that's the difference to what you get. You know, you hear about clubs starting. I know I was in a club out here in Staten Island, and it didn't work out too well because there was a lot of egos, a lot of pride. You know,
right? And if
everyone's
you're not
job.
having fun, we got to change something. So it's really powerful. I've been here 11 years now, well, almost 12, and I've let 3 volunteers go for being
I,
grumpy and yelling at fun
yeah,
and just
uh,
asking not. But
I
it
agree
made a
with you.
huge difference.
I agree with you. And Ralph Renzetti says in train crossings, your pet peeves about train crossings.
Oh, yeah, quiet zones right there. Boom, quiet. I don't like that.
Quiet zones. I agree with you. They shouldn't be. Not with a railroad, especially not with a railroad.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this quiet zone going in here at the museum. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and stuff like
But
that.
as far as like one of my pet peeves about running a model train museum um, is people getting too worked up over small things. And I think that's where the fun role comes in. Those rivet counters, oh my gosh, they have to deal with me all the time. Uh, although I have to tell you, so let me tell you the story of regarding prototypical operations and visitor experience
Go
because
right
they had
ahead.
to meet in the middle. So I grew up in Nebraska on the Burlington Northern.
Well,
I
before
saw
you
the
start
film.
that,
Yeah.
before Jennifer Howell, she
Oh,
says, I work at the museum and it is a blast.
I love Jennifer.
Hey, Jen, how
Thank
are
you,
you,
Jen.
girl?
She's wonderful. And she and I actually rail fanned together.
Cool.
Been big boy for 3 days together. 4 days actually.
So go ahead with your story. I'm sorry.
Oh,
With
okay.
the
So I came here.
prototypical and the visitors
I
meeting.
wanted Burlington. I grew up on the Burlington Northern. That's what I watched. I watched coal trains going in and out of the Powder River Basin, down through Nebraska, Burlington Northern, green and white. And I come in here and we have Oceany Blue, the Oceany. We have Western Pacific, Southern Pacific, a little bit of Great Northern. And I said, "Where's the Burlington Northern? I really like the green and white." And he said, "We don't do that's not prototypical." And so then I go out and watch a train, and I'm like, "Why don't we have a Union Pacific train here? We're right on the tracks." And he goes, "We don't do that here. That's not prototypical." Right. And so that was the answer. Well, then to the public more, guess what questions he got from everybody? Where's steam? I grew up watching passenger trains. I'd love to see a passenger train. Da, 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 da. So one day, I'm here for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't remember exactly when. He comes that I'm in right now, and he says, "Michelle, come down here to staging." So I go to the staging yard, and before I walked in the yard, he said, "Now, if you ever doubted that I love you, your doubts are completely gone." And so I walk around the corner, and here's 3 Burlington Northern units on a museum train.
There you go. There
And
you go.
so this is this in thinking, if we are a visitor and to introduce the hobby to the public, you need to find a connection. And a lot of times the connection is the type of train they saw, member, or whatever they want to see. And it's usually the trains you know. So we even in our collection now of our typical trains, we have UP, we'll have Burlington Northern, and we'll have, and because that's what people here know, that's what they grew up with. And so those are part of our consensus now. We stick to the era pretty close. We still stick to that 1975, not a lot of graffiti. I know, huge topic of contention. But,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
and then when COVID hit, I had a lot more time to be involved in the railroad, and I learned that one of our trains was actually set in the 80s, and it was incorrect for its title. So then I started meddling with the guys, and I'm like, either you change the name or you change the train, and so we
Right.
changed the train. So
Right.
now we have a mid 1980s with Rio Grande Power. So, but it's not about being prototypical. Show is excellence in modeling. We want to show what the ultimate in modeling can be like and how that can inspire you to go home and have a layout or be creative or build something somehow so we want to have this excellence in volunteer experience balanced with an excellence in visitor experience. So we have to find
Well,
the balance.
yeah, and I think that is that's really the right way to do it, because I know that I think a lot of the people who come to see the trains operating, they want to know how first and foremost you get it to look the way it does. But then when you start talking to people about trains, you'll start noticing the questions. Like they said, I always wanted to ask this question, but I never thought it. I never, because when you're in the
Oh,
midst of railroaders, whether they're real guys that work on the railroad, or model railroaders, you kind of get a little intimidated. So then when you have an atmosphere such as that, and the guy can say, you know, like the one of the questions I used to get when I worked in the subway was somebody would say to me, "How do you go to the bathroom
mhm.
if you're on the train?" And I'm like, "Well, you don't eat fruit, you don't drink juices, and if coffee gives you a hard time on your stomach, you don't drink coffee. You eat light and stuff like that." Yeah, but what if you really, really have to go? Well, there's a terminal, in between there's towers and you can use their restroom. But I will assure you that you mess up the railroad, because when you call in for a comfort break, and Command Center will never deny you a comfort break on the New York City Transit Authority, they'll say, "Okay, Motorman, you take the comfort break at 34th Street, then you go into the tower. You have now rerouted everything behind you." So I
Oh
said that
wow.
happens on a lot of things, on a lot of railroads. A lot of guys, something happens and it disrupts. So you have to learn on the fly what to do and how to do things. Like I remember
Wow.
one time that happened to me. I wasn't feeling too good, and I truly disrupted the entire system on the Sixth Avenue line. And I got home, and my friend came home, and he says to me, "The other day, man, I was on the F train and I couldn't get home." I said, "Oh, that was me." And he was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I had to go to." He goes, "Yeah, it was
What
about
influence?
4:30 in the afternoon." I said, "Yeah, that was me. I was stuck in the tunnel." I said, I'm sorry. You know, what are you gonna do?"
I'd never thought about that. I just learned something from you about the transit system. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, Split Rock 33. Don't ask about the bathrooms on SD40s. Just don't. You're absolutely right. I had a friend of mine that worked for Conrail. He was a conductor, and he invited me on. He got permission for me to go on a train with him out of Oak Island in New Jersey, and we went to We went to, I believe, we went to Altoona, Pittsburgh on the train, and I said to the engineer, "I need to use the restroom. I need to use the toilet, the bathroom." And he said, "Down there," but he says, "Close your nose, take a deep breath, and go in there."
Oh,
And the guy was so right. The guy was so right. Uh, my friend Frank Delorio, who's a retired motorman for the New York City Transit Authority, says you can actually take a comfort any place you want. It could be at a restaurant you like, and you might as well get takeout.
because you disrupted it anyway, right?
That's right. I not suitable, but I can tell you stories that when you gotta go, and you gotta do. But a lot of people don't know that about railroads, and especially, when you work that. And I think that's good that you give them that it's a friendly atmosphere, because what happens is you break down that mystique. Like when people come to my layout and they look and they say, "Well, how did you do that?" And then you tell them, and they're like, "Wait a minute, that's arts and crafts." I said, "Yeah, that's basically what this is." I said, "You're just adding your own, you know,
When people
touch to
ask
it."
me what my job description is, I usually say I translate model railroading for the general public.
That's an excellent answer. That is so excellent. That is really a
I
great answer.
translate this to this. So,
And take the mystification out of it and the
and make
mystery
it
out of it.
fun. And make it fun.
Do you have any photographs of this
I, I
beautiful
do.
museum that
I do.
for some of us who have it?
I have a PowerPoint up here if it'll work. We can just kind of quickly go through some of the stuff. We
No,
talked about a
fine.
lot of it. There's our mission right there to educate, inspire, and bring joy to all ages. And we wrote a vision statement too, because that was like the thing to do at the time. And that's to use model railroading as an avenue for human creativity. And this allows us to do things that don't always have a train in it, but it's being creative and using some sort of talent that you would use in modeling. So it gives us a lot of leeway. Dave Trussell, and we were on the cover of Model Railroader in 2008. And that's the last time I think we were published in Model Railroader. We've been in all the publications since then, usually on the cover. Railroad Model Craftsman did a wonderful piece on us, and the NMRA magazine did too. And I'm not going to read all this to you because it's all on our website. But that kind of started with that first Model Railroader article, and that's Dave pictured there. And this is the picture I took of Dave standing in front of the 844, the Union Pacific Steam Living Legend locomotive when it stopped here in 2011.
Right.
And I love this picture of Dave because I just captured him in the moment. And that's Dave. He has retired and done something wonderful. A lot of people do this problem. They call it founderitis. They don't find a sustainable before they pass away. So Dave decided to make it sustainable in time for him to go to Pennsylvania and live there where his grandkids are. So he actually went through this whole painful process of setting this up, hiring me, getting everything set and sustainable so he could move away and this place would still continue. And so I do encourage people who have layouts in their homes or anything that you want to be, please think about. I know it's not fun to think about, but you've got to think about your sustainability plan. Okay, Michelle's preaching us over.
Oh, no, no, no. That I we just to divert from that because I have two questions I wanted to ask you as we continue. But we had Bill Baronic on, and Bill Baronic did we did an interview with Bill Baronic, and Bill Baronic actually talked about setting up estates and willing your
Mhm.
stuff away because he says he deals with a lot of wives whose husband passed away and the kids don't want it. So
Right.
you're absolutely correct when you're saying getting a sustainable will. That is something that I am in the process of doing right now, and getting it worked out. My wife and my son don't want to really hear about it, but
But they'll be happy.
yes, yes. Well, the last time I checked, none of us are getting out of here alive. So, it's just
Yeah,
the way it
exactly.
is. Exactly.
It's right here on my wall. For
Yeah.
when people call me and say, I have an estate I'd like to sell, I give them Bill Baranik's phone number.
Yes. Yes.
If they want to donate it, we'll take it. Actually, it's something that we have done that has been really a service that we didn't realize would be such a blessing for people is we will go in and demo a layout out of a home
Oh,
because she needs
that's
to sell it and she's got to get that layout out because only a modeler is going to buy that with the layout in the basement.
exactly, exactly.
And so we've actually done that just as a service for people. Just this is the
Sparky one
OCD
oh
logo on
yes,
here.
Sparky 107 wants to know, Michelle, what is the meaning of model railroading? Is it a toy or hobby, arts or crafts or a deep wallet? What model rail is roaming for you?
What is model railroading for me? Model
Mm,
railroading for me is honestly exploring a miniature world of taking the things that I love and building them because
yeah.
I love to be creative like that. I don't have the talent to build a locomotive on my own. I'll someday get there. I'll someday learn that I'll earn that master model railroader. That's a goal to build
Mhm.
something. But I'm not there
Mhm.
yet. I'm just learning new stuff. And so for me, it's lifelong learning. It's the opportunity to always have something to work on. And it hits my creative side. And I'm a huge rail fan. So modeling is just like that next step, I guess. So
Okay.
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 So this is the details about 15 bridges, 12 tunnels, 1,000 handmade trees. It took him 5 years to build all the trees. Everybody that would come through the door would be like, "Sit down and build a tree." This is our staging yard. Uh,
Wow.
this is half of it. So you're looking at one end of it, and so there's 7 trains. Kind of the main. Can you see my cursor from here over to the Rio Grandes? This is the Railblazer. Incorrect trailers, which we are correcting now, because Michelle got involved. These 7 and the 7 counterparts at the other end can all be on the layout at one time. The shortest one is 50 cars. The longest one is about 110 to 115 cars on it. And so our layout can handle that kind of traffic. This train back here is the California Zephyr, and on the other side we have the city of Portland. And these 2 tracks here are for out of time trains, not 1975. And so when I came here, this was our staging yard. And then right as I got here, Randy wrote that what we call our docent program that can run trains.
Right.
But it needs a yard to pull them from. So do you see how we cut a hole in the wall right here?
Yeah.
And so see
Yes.
that locomotive back there? We have a 4-track staging yard with 12 trains on it on that side, and that's what trains it wants to pull from there, and then it parks them back in it.
Right. Okay.
So we had to build that inside the layout later edition. So these statistics, I shouldn't even put out there because we're always in flux, and we just sold off a whole bunch of our rolling stock, and we're getting new rolling stock to replace it. And we just bought another 18 locomotives this year to kind of replace some of these out and build some different trains. So always changing. But I did count 2,500 locomotives on the layout. I did that one time with a clicker. That took a long time. So operations, we do 3 different things here. We do what we call play mode, and here's our computer program, and this is Randy Palmer creation. So each of these little buttons here is a switch I can click here and it'll change on the layout. But we can also go out on the layout and actually flip the switches manually. So this is like manual mode. You have to watch your switch, go flip your switch. You have to communicate via radio if anyone else is on the railroad, that kind of thing. And here I put our cleaner cars. We use cars every day with the alcohol and then the little cars behind them. So we can do play mode and then mode, which is the computer looks like underneath the layout. That's what those are. And then that's one end, and that's looking down the other end. This is what the computer screen looks like. So where there's red, there's a train. It looks just like a real railroad. Green in front of it, where its clearance is. We have these sidings here, and this is the staging yard. So we have this mode, and then we have dispatching. And I am actually a certified dispatcher. I know that's terrifying, but
Why is that? Why is that terrifying?
because I always bring a little bit of chaos to everything I do.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Keep them on their toes.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
What's his name? What's his name? I'm sorry, Wilma. It's not what's his name. Wilma would like to know. Indian Head Valley Railroad. He says, question for you, Michelle. Where is, why is everything jumping around here? I'm not used to doing this. It's like I never did it before.
Oh, this question right here.
Yeah.
What
What is Michelle's favorite aspect of the hobby? Running trains, scenery, structure, building, etc.
Absolutely painting. And I love to paint animals. And the only thing I've really done here for the layout is I painted 36 prototypical longhorns for our Greeley Stampede Parade. Right. And I painted them off of photographs, so every longhorn is an individual. So, yeah, that's what I'm known for. I do like to paint. I love to weather. I'm definitely I will do your backdrop. I would paint your backdrop for you.
Okay.
And don't give me glue and straight lines. Give me trees in free form.
Okay, there you go. At $150 per hour, I think
I
would hire you.
You just gotta feed me. I'm pretty good at feeding.
There we go. There we go. Human City Junction, he says it would be great to visit the museum one day out in Greeley, but I'm 2.5 hours from Strasburg, Pennsylvania, and I have not been there yet.
Okay, Heath, I've been there twice.
This girl's from out west, Heath.
And I've been there twice.
Putting you to shame, boy.
Strasburg is great, and you should go in the 611s there.
Yes,
really fun.
Yes, take the rail trip to Paradise.
I've become a huge steam fan.
Have you taken the rail train to Paradise?
No, I don't know what that is. What is that?
That's the train ride at Strasburg.
Oh, is that what, oh yeah, yeah, because that's
to Paradise. And the conductor, when you reach Paradise, the conductor said, "This is Paradise, and will be as close as anybody here on this train will ever get to Paradise."
And then on the way back, they blow the whistle.
Yes, and the locomotive that died out in the field, and then they blow it so you get the echo back.
Yeah,
And
so anybody that goes there, their locomotive number 90 originally ran on the track outside this museum. It was the number 90 from Colorado, so it's really special to us.
Yes. It's a very, very, very nice place, Strasbourg. I love it. I
Very
go
nice.
there. Whenever we go there, we go. And my wife is like, again? I'm like, yeah, again.
Um,
Friends of ours, they run a they run a Barry Barry Roget and Mike Dettinger belong to a model railroad club that it's an N scale layout that they've done, and it's a modular set, and it's they depict the Strasbourg Museum and the layout. Like they have
oh
the
wow.
the caboose. Have you seen the caboose motel?
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
they have replicate. It's a modular layout that replicates the Strasbourg Museum.
Like that whole area is phenomenal. You've got the TCA headquarters. In front of that is the Caboose Motel thing.
Yes,
And
yes,
then you've got Strasbourg, and across the street, the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. I mean, like
yes,
that's just like Mecca right there. Like
yeah,
all those
it
things.
is. Yes,
You need
Split Rock.
3 days if you go there, just so you know.
You
3 days.
do. Split Rock 323. Most dispatches are poor guesses whose hobby is delaying the trains.
Oh, we have a cookie roll around here. If you really want to get around, you better bring some cookies for the dispatcher.
So dispatch operation mode. So you dispatch as well.
Yes, we have the CTC machine here, and our 138 signals are pretty much mostly controlled the dispatcher. We have a few places you still have to throw your switches because that's fun, and especially staging. It's dark to dispatch, but it's I like with the dispatcher. It takes a lot of the stress out for me.
Uh
Um,
huh.
than operating in play mode where I have to keep calling ahead and remembering where everyone else is while I'm running around. So yeah, but I do like dispatching. I think I like that better than operating, though. I think dispatching is probably my favorite because it's a puzzle. You've got to think ahead. Like, I got to get this guy through there, so this guy has to move here, and it's a game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Exactly. Do you have any pictures of the layout itself?
I do. So let me go to those. Okay, do you want to share screen again? Okay, so I'll
Sure.
just kind of quickly roll.
Oh, I love this shot. Oh man,
We're
that's
pretty.
a
We got a lot of Southern Pacific. This is our Cantilever Bridge. When we started allowing personal trains, someone had a double stack that was just touched it. So we had to shave like a half a millimeter off of that bridge so they could go through. This logging, so you can see there's a sawmill in the back here, one of our sawmills.
yeah.
Water.
That's very impressive.
This is looking into that town from the other side. I'm just gonna roll through them pretty quick for time. So
No, no. Take your
this
time.
is
Don't go through them.
oh well,
Take your
this is the
time. Sit
other
on 'em.
sawmill. So we have two sawmills. This one has sound. This one actually is designed for the 6 hours that were open to the public. You'll actually hear a 24-hour day. Come to work, they have a lunch break. It whistles their breaks, and then they go home at the end of the
Right.
day. So we have
Okay.
sound effects with the sawmill. We
Okay.
also have a button you can turn that off if you're the only person in the building and it's driving you crazy because it does go
Ah.
zzz, zzz.
Ah. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And this is one of our little yards. We have a little bit of steam on there in this little shay that we have for our logging. And so, they were just sitting around still in the 70s. They just didn't sell them off, and occasionally they'll pull them out. So that's why we
Is
have
more
them.
are most of these buildings that I'm seeing are they scratch built or are
Yeah,
they from? Oh,
most
they
of
are.
them were scratch built or kit bashed of some sort. So
Mm-hmm.
Dave originally had a 60-foot by modular square
Mm-hmm.
called the Denver Greeley and Tahoe, and he went to I think it was the 1999 or 2001 National Train Show, and he won. And then he couldn't compete, and so then he stopped and started building this and focusing
Mm.
here. But
That's a very interesting.
that layout's in Cheyenne, Wyoming today. You can go see it.
Uh,
So we're just logging. So everything's about lumber for us. We got sawmills. We also have a doodlebug that takes the crew up to work for the week, drop them off at the logging camps.
how Lynn McCurdy wants to know how was the talks about the
Oh,
firefight?
yeah, it's coming up here somewhere. We'll get to that in a minute. So this is just kind of working around the layout. Here's one of our deep scenes. I don't know if you can see how deep this
Yeah.
is when you stand here in the river, the Shivakan River. Oh, wrong way. This way. Here's one of our lower bridges. In this section, you've got track down here, track here, it's 4 levels of rail on this area of, and then here's the actual peak of that mountain. And it is, I it's I know it's 2,000 tons of hydrocal, or yeah, or not tons, pounds, 2,000 pounds. You
Uh,
said that right. It's a ton of hydrocal, basically.
yeah,
It's pretty amazing. And later on, I'll show you the slide of how this was built. I have like a morph slide of plywood to foam
yeah.
to the
That's
mountain.
great. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
here's our forest fire not lit, and it's best shown as video, so you can see the area. But when you push a button, it actually does this. It lights up, and we have
Oh,
smoke
wow.
and fire, and it's using Arduinos to create the lighting effects through the bushes.
Right.
Um, and so apartment turns on, and like we have a whole fire. One
Nice.
thing we learned, I'll give away the trade secret that you learn on our behind the scenes tour of this. When they first built it, they had tubes to come up, from it's like a liquid at the bottom. You got to get the little pad down in there to vibrate the liquid, make it a vapor. Well, we couldn't get the vapor to come up the tube, so you have to use aquarium fans. They work really. That's your secret of the day. So, here we are at the summit of the mountain where the log trains originates. And so we have different log loadouts, and we have a train that originates on the layout called the log train. So you have to go and pick up the loads, and you tie up the whole railroad because you have to be on the main half the time, and then the siding of the main. And it's like a dispatcher nightmare.
Right,
So
right.
it's like a comfort break over and over and over.
Yes. Lynn McCurdy states also, he says you can hear the firefighters on their CBs
Yeah,
playing it.
yeah, it's super fun. And we have a
Uh,
burning building too. I don't think I have a picture of it in this deck, but we do have a fireworks factory that's on fire also.
Fireworks.
Yeah. So here's the other side of the loadout at the very top.
Oh,
And here we have
yeah.
a snow shed on the backside of that mountain. And the snow shed was there
Oh,
before
wow.
the mountain going first, before the plot. It's an interesting build picture. Dave hand built that. That's 100% scratch built.
Wow.
It's pretty. And so here's just some trains up on the summit from Pacific. This is our little town of Saikan. Or no, this is Derry. So this train is coming out of a tunnel, and you can see the end of the train over here. This is one of our longer trains. And so it's all through this mountain and coming out here, and then he's going to go across this bridge. And so that's our high bridge, and you can see how many levels of rail there's rail here, 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 back here, up here. So it's just at one time, and they're not really near each other on the
The,
layout.
Dwight of Northern Star wants to, how many volunteers do you have?
So I consider an active volunteer someone who's been here in probably the last 3 months or 4 months, because we have some people that come quarterly, and we usually have about 75 to 100, somewhere in that range. And we've gotten a lot of new volunteers after COVID. A lot of younger people have come in. It's fun
Uh,
expanding.
uh,
So
he also, Dwight of Northern Star wants to know, what's the rule of thumb? What is the rule of thumb? Don't foul the main line?
yes, don't hold up the main line. I'm super bad at doing this because I'll come out and say, I'm making a TikTok. Could you just back your train up to 271? The director needs me to back up my train.
uh,
So, yeah, I'm notorious for holding up the railroad.
yeah, they
Here's the
stop.
lower level where it comes out under that bridge. Oh,
And
here's
what's
the
and what's
factory.
that bridge? What's that bridge on the river that crosses the river?
That's a car bridge.
Oh man,
Hmm. And there's some campers there. There's actually some tents and camping down in there, and some fun little stories about that area of the layout, like a bear in a canoe.
aha,
Here's the fireworks. And you can see this building right here. It's all like cut up.
yeah, 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 yes, yes, yes,
Dave
yes,
actually
yes.
burned it.
Okay, well, you want to get realism?
And I don't have a picture, but it lights up the same way with smoke and all of that stuff and fire. So I need to do video in these. Now I can't wait to watch that cab ride video.
You said earlier
Well,
it's a
thank
great
you. You have
layout
to go
that
look
we're
it up.
seeing.
So I have to tell you, his name is Bill Rogers, YouTube. Bill passed away last year, and
Oh,
he willed his YouTube channel to the museum.
oh,
And so his partner helps me anytime I need help with it. But it's such an honor to have that. So do go look at his stuff. It's great.
That's the
Um,
best thing about YouTube and making these videos is that you're in perpetual. Uh,
it's archived. Yeah.
it's archived. I always tell my wife that, you know. So if my wife happens to listen to this after I'm long gone, I love you, and I didn't mean to burn the toast. Sorry.
Here's the just yards. This is the Klamath Falls yard. We have trains that originate in yards. We have yard work. There's just all sorts of things. It's never the same thing twice on our layout. It's just always
No, I
different.
noticed that. I
And
noticed that.
um,
You know
everyone,
what's y-
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know what's nice about it? Like the trains are the main attraction, but it's the other things that bring the trains into action. It's like
Right.
that wall, that retaining wall, and then above it is that, you have the
Oh,
flats of
you know
the
what goes here?
storefront.
We have an entire faller car system. And see that
Oh,
hole right there behind that billboard? The
yeah.
trucks come out of there. And let me go back a picture. Do you see this truck? He uses these signals. So when it's green, he turns and goes around the city block and he'll stop at red
Ah,
lights and then he goes back in circles. And then they
uh-huh.
go back and charge when their batteries get low. They charge and then they'll come out again. Different layout.
Nice.
So that's our follower car system. So we do have that.
Split Rock wants to know, does the museum have a TikTok account? How many model
We do.
trains?
It's Colorado Model Railroad, I think. I put like 8 things on it so far, but I did there. Um, and it's Colorado Model Railroad, and it might be RR if it was shortened. I'll look that up and let you know.
Mm-hmm.
This is a picture of the guests in our mezzanine area where you can look down over the layout. Picture of the
What are the
log scene is here.
what are the kids' reaction when they see it?
Oh, I should have put that picture in here. It's just like pointing, smiles, um, excitement, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially those train kids, those kids born with the RR gene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They just love this place. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a couple slides are what I talked about visitor experience. So here's our aisles. And I don't know if you noticed earlier there was a picture. Do you see how tall our plexiglass is? It's 8 inches.
Right.
And that's because you want to be a part of this miniature world. He originally thought come, so he made it accessible, but he also wanted you to really be a part of it. Like it's accessible for operations everywhere, which also makes it so the public can lean over it and be in it. And the worst thing that happens to us is we have these power poles that run right along here, and the lines kept getting broke because people would point, look at that, breaking our power
Yeah.
lines with their hands. So we made them elastic.
Oh,
So now they just
so now we know where Woodland Scenics got its idea.
we probably got it from them. So our aisles are wide. Dave was smart and he visited many places before he built this because even with operations, he knew there'd be families and wives. And so he built wide aisles. Nothing's narrow. We even have these staircases so kids can get up here and get a better view and see there's a train up here and all these different layers. So that's visit. Here's what I did to the museum. So again, Michelle comes out of nowhere representing the visiting public because that's me. And I said, I have these toys from when I was a kid, and they're 1:87 scale. I have those little micro machines, Star Wars. I got lots of them. Let's have a Star Wars day. I have lots of friends with costumes. So I invited the 501st in and had my first sci-fi days. And one of my volunteers, about noon, threw his hat on the floor and he says, this is BS. This isn't prototypical modeling. So he walked out all mad. He's mad. Michelle's an idiot. Day of the year. Highest attendance day we'd ever had was Star Wars Day. And we've done it every year since, and people look forward to it. They love it. We trains. I bought the Hawthorne Village Star Wars trains, and we put sound effects in them now. And people love them because now we have two things they love. We just connected their love of Star Wars to modeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do superheroes, dinosaurs. We just have fun. So yeah, that's what I did to us.
It's not for
Star Trek too.
and there's the Star Trek
There's the Star Trek.
being
So, oh,
transported.
this is going to play. This is a build. So you guys just get to enjoy watching sticks to finished product in 30 seconds. Or actually more like 10.
Mm.
And it also is a good overview of what it looks like. Plywood, and this one goes straight to finished product.
That is some amazing.
I'm glad we took pictures. In your layout, take pictures. Go back and do this.
Yeah, I did that. I've done that.
I have one more of the mountain. So here's the mountain being built. So a single layer, and we add all the track on it. We add a whole lot of foam here in a minute. Oh, there's the snow shed. See, the snow shed goes in now.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
And now we've got foam,
Foam up the wazoo here.
lots of foam. And then we have our mountain.
And
So
the mountain, there's room you can stand up
I can
inside
stand
that.
up. Yeah, yeah. They when I first said I needed like a little more space for an office because I used to be in another building even, and they made inside was they put a little folding chair under there and a little light, and they're like, "Here's your office, Michelle."
Well, thank you so very, very much. I greatly appreciate that.
Actually, there are days I'm like, "I'll be in my office." I'll go down there. So, yeah. Okay. So the rest of this is about youth programs, but
Yeah,
uh,
let's see the youth program because we wanna get the youth involved. So
okay.
let's see the youth
This
program.
is the progression of our youth program. So this is what we did. We started out with Woodland Scenics wedges, and if you're not familiar with these,
Then
if you're
we
an
are.
organization, you can call Woodland Scenics and purchase these, and it's like $6 a kid, really affordable, and you buy them in groups of 6. So this is what we did for a long time. We can do these in our lobby, Cub Scouts, kids, whatever. Then we went to these little foam squares, and this is at a public school. So we have a public school down the street called the School of Innovation. It's kind of a charter but public school, and we asked if we could do something with them, and we started doing an hour a day every day for a long time. So we built a lot of things. So that was our first stuff with them. Then we did pizza layouts, is what we call these, full set of tracks, so your train can actually go around and around. And if you want to ship us little tiny locomotives for these, that'd be awesome. We need the smallest locomotives you can get for that radius. So then we went to those big Woodland Scenics 2x4. And here's Michelle's mom hack for this is a trash bag, and you cut a hole right in the center of the bottom, and then you
Yes.
put armholes in the
Yeah.
sides, and they're wonderful.
Yes, they are.
So we built these with the kids, and we did this both at the School of Innovation and after school programming at Boys and Girls Clubs. And so here's some more shots of us working with these kids. These kids are Boys and Girls Club. And then here's 2 different Boys and Girls Club houses who each built a section, and we got together at the end of summer and put them together to run trains on them. So that was really fun. And then so we did that for quite a while. This is what we did during the pandemic. And I don't know why the words aren't on there, but this is our STEAM Kids virtual classroom. And I have an entire year's worth of programming. I still, so Boys and Girls Club delivered 785 kits to children that we put together. And they got one a month all of 2020. And Union Pacific funded it for us, which was wonderful. And so what we did is we took little bits of modeling each month, some sort of STEAM. You know what STEM is? STEAM, you add art.
Yes.
So like this big picture is when I did art. Using a Union Pacific watercolor, we taught these art lessons. And we taught them all from looking at this painting. Here we are. We did planets using Play-Doh because Play-Doh is your first modeling that you're ever
Yes.
introduced to as a child.
Yes.
And then we did a lot of excavating and groundwork, and we're at our Pruder Learning Center, and we're digging out fossils. And so it's groundwork. You have to look at your land. And so anyway, we always brought it back to modeling of some sort, tie in, but it was really fun. And that's all I've here for you. But that's what we do in youth programs. We also have Legos. We do a lot with Legos. We did Mission to the Moon, where the kids had to design what would trains look like on the moon? How would public transportation happen if we went there today? And they pretty much built monorails. It was pretty interesting.
Monorails on the planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Magnetic gravity. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So anyway, that's all the pictures I had ready for tonight. But
That
that
was
gives you an
absolutely
idea.
That was absolutely great. Dwight of Northern Star says, sincerely, thank you very much, Michelle. You do a lot for model railroading and the kids and education, and it's in a happy, fun way. Keep on keeping on.
Oh, thank you. Thank
So,
you. There are
and
days I need encouragement like that.
yeah. And Ron Trains and Things says it's fun to visit the museum and see the T-track model as the kids have built.
Ron did come in and visit and got to see that. So thank you, Ron.
Yeah, Ron Marsh. And yeah, it's amazing, and the things that you do. I know that, whenever I visit a layout, I always visit it with my hands in my pocket, because you don't want to be that guy that touches something and it breaks and you're like, ah. But I have my granddaughters, they come over here and they ask if they're 13 and 10. They said, "Can we go in the layout?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And they know how to start it up, and but
Oh,
they,
that's awesome.
I have to, yeah, it is awesome, but I have to be with them because the little one, Gracie, she likes to race the train,
Hmm.
so I have to get her that cheap train set, and I said, "This is yours. You can do whatever you want, you know,
This
break
one
it."
can go max speed.
Yeah, I see things when after they leave after the day, whatever, and I come back in the next day, I notice there's like things around that are different, like the trucks are pointing the different ways, and I'll call her up and I'll say, "How come the trucks are?" "Oh, Bill," she says, "Grandpa," she says, "that's not the way the truck should be moving. It should be moving away from the wall, not into the wall. Why would you want it to move into the wall?" Oh, you want to hear
Oh, that's a
something?
legit question.
No, it is a legit. You want to hear something? I have a harbor scene here, and I was putting seagulls up. So I had this little black wire, and I drilled a hole, and I inserted the thing, and I put the thing. So I was showing a couple of people at my church. I said, "Oh, check this out." What I did, and I showed them the picture, and all of the adults were like, "How did you get that bird to fly?" And I explained to them about the wire. And then I went to Grace, and I said, Grace, who's 10, I said, "Grace, look what I did." And she looked at it and she says, "What kind of wire did you use, Grandpa?" I said, "What?" She said, "What kind of wire did you use?" I said, "I used a very thin one, but a sturdy one." She says, "That's a good idea, so it won't bend, right?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "It looks like it's really flying." I said, "You're 10 years old, you're a genius, and I love you very, very, very much."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And she's like always adding ideas to the layout. So it's good. So I understand, when you say your enthusiasm, like if they come in here and something gets broke, my response is it's just plastic. It can be replaced.
Right.
I can
And
fix it.
that's our attitude too. I mean, everything in here is touchable, touchable. Some things get broken. I have what I call the Disney World effect going on here. In that
Yes.
we keep it clean so they don't mess with it because it looks at that
Yes.
level. Like you
Right.
don't litter at Disney World. You just don't.
No, you don't. You're absolutely.
Um,
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. So if you bring that and people see it, it's inherent. There's something that comes off the layout that says, "Hey, wait, don't do this, don't do that."
one time, and did we have like a little tornado of destruction go through, and we know his arms could only reach this far into the layout, so we're guessing 6 years old. And
Yeah.
he was super creative because he went through every town and took everything he could reach and made a pile, like a really good accident. Like it was a really like the dogs were like under the cars and there were people like half like he just and he did it to 3 of our cities, and I had to give him kudos for creativity. That's
There
the
you
only
go.
time we've
There
had
you
that.
go. There you go.
So
Very
we just
good.
put it back. It's okay.
It's all replaceable at some point, and sometimes it gives you the incentive to change the things you wanted to change anyway, but you
There
just
you
were too
go.
tired to do it, so you do it. Cowboy Valley and Timber Junction Railroad, great story. Yes, it
Oh,
is.
thank you.
But Ralph Renzetti, Michelle, thank you for joining us and sharing. Yes, I have to say, Michelle, that your enthusiasm and your effervescent attitude is very, very contagious. As soon as I get off this, I'm going to tell my wife we're moving to Greeley, Colorado.
Okay, I'll help
She
you.
may. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna leave New York and we're gonna come there because it's a
Can I tell you
place.
what's happened before? People have actually moved across the country
I
to
believe it.
retire, especially if they've lost their wife and they have the full decision making. But one man's wife did move here. Bless her.
No,
So,
no, I absolutely can see it, but I have to say that your enthusiasm and again your effervescence and your whole attitude to model railroading is exactly what we old codgers need to shake us up, to get us out of our basement dwelling, and to realize that there is. Dwight of Northern Star says, "Will they allow Brooklyn accents in Greeley?" Yes, they
yeah, we
will.
do. We have a volunteer with a New York accent
There you go.
already. So he's paved the way. It's easy.
What do you know? What part of New York he's from?
I don't. I'll have to ask him. I just know he grew up in New York, but New York City is what he said. I'll
Oh,
have
then he's a real New Yorker. If he's upstate, that's the other New Yorkers. We
no,
don't
no,
talk. Yeah, we
no.
don't talk about those guys. You gotta, be from. But anyway, what you bring to the table is a lot, and it brings something that's new, fresh, and different. And it really is refreshing to see this. And speaking with you for this time that we had, it's giving me such inspiration and enthusiasm to jump back in here and start working on my own layout. But I want to
Well,
take this
good.
time.
Go
Yeah.
get busy.
Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have to have you on again. You are absolutely a wonderful, wonderful person and a lovely young lady. And we definitely have to have you back on again
Oh,
because you
thank you.
bring such
And
enthusiasm to
y'all
the
got to
model
come.
railroading world. And we're going to come out there. My wife and I are going to come and visit because I promised Mr. Baranek I'd come out and see him and
Excellent.
stuff. So we would do it. So Michelle, thank you again for
Thank
being
you.
on. You
And
be
thanks,
well.
everybody.
You be well. You be safe. But most of all, you be blessed.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you in a few.
You too.
Okay. Thank you again. Hey guys, this is the end. I hope you enjoyed that show, and it really was. It was one of the better interviews. I mean, not all my interviews are really good, I have to say, but she really is. She really is sparkling water. She is. She's a water in the dry desert sometimes when you need that little pick me up. So thank you, Michelle Kempner She's the executive director of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum out in Greeley, Colorado. So go check it out and everything. Tomorrow night, John will be back on for Johnny's Train Talk Show. Will be at 9 p.m. You guys got to come and visit John. You really do, just to say hello, because sometimes the guy gets like really lonely and he doesn't think you guys love him. So come and join him. Come and join him. You'll have a good time. You really will. And the Railroad Empire Show will be back on the 18th of December. And next show, Big Bill will be on next Wednesday, the 8th, with our special guest, William Sampson of the Sioux Line Railroad. Uh, and we can thank Dwight of Northern Star for that because Dwight reached out to him at a train show and said, "Hey, Big Bill would love to have you on." And he got in touch with me and we got in touch with him. So thank you, Dwight, for that. So next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m., we're going to have William Sampson on from the Sioux Line. And, you know, and that will be that for that. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys for tuning in because without you, I'd be talking to dead air and you're part of the community. So, you see my, where is it? Let me go. My Hawaiian girl. That's Honolulu Annie. And then we have the Philadelphia, what's his name? Mascot. Philadelphia Phillies mascot. Mr. Met is around here someplace. I don't know where he is, but I have him stashed. Anyway, you guys take care. You be well. You be safe. But most of all, you be blessed. And again, Mr. Rod Stewart, I am so sorry. I know this is getting old, buddy, and I got to give it up to you for you being on, waiting to the end to do this. But I hope John squared it with you and everything. But anyway, you guys be well, be safe, be blessed, and we'll see you guys on the radio.